Grid tonight. Four-time Formula One World Champion Max Verstappen is set to debut at the intimidating Nordschleife Circuit in Germany. Is it surprising that Red Bull allowed him to do this on an off weekend? Gunther Steiner, remember him? He's leaving his F1 life behind and he's coming to MotoGP. What is he up to in his next adventure in motorsports? Hendrick Motorsports swapped out Alex Bowman's number 48 pit crew for Bristol. Will it make the difference in the round of 16 cutoff race, or did the change come a little too late? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert, and with me are Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to interact with us in the chat, support us through Super Chat, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. I know the last few weeks, Josh has been extremely busy, but tonight kind of a lighter show from us, so take it away.
Thank you, Kobe. Good evening to you. Good evening, Matt. Pleasure to be back with you again. Well, I think we kind of needed a quieter week, didn't we, as well, with everything that's been flying up and everything that we know that will still start rising as we get towards the end of the NASCAR season, the F1 season, MotoGP all starts to rumble in now for the end of the year. So basically just enjoy the calm and then buckle in for the tidal wave we're going to have to the end of the season. Right, let's get into some of the surprising news because according to Autosport, Red Bull Motorsport advisor Helmut Marko has confirmed that the full-time Formula One World Champion Max Verstappen will make his race debut on the Nürburgring's famous Nordschleife Circuit as well. Now, after winning the Italian Grand Prix, Verstappen will spend his F1 off weekend trying out endurance racing in the sports car world. He intends to compete in the Nürburgring Endurance Series this Saturday and Sunday in a pair of 2 4-hour races at the Green Hell. Now, at first, he expressed and he's expected to hop behind the wheel of a Porsche Cayman GT4 car, and if he fulfills the requirements in that car, he could receive the green light to drive an Emerald Frey for racing Ferrari 296 GT3 car in the top category for Sunday's race. Now, in the interview with Autosport, Marko said that at this time, with the Red Bull F1 car not being as dominant as it used to be, this is an important distraction for his well-being. The link to this interview is in the video description below, the photo courtesy of Verstappen.com Racing. Well, it was kind of the best kept secret, really, wasn't it, for fans coming into it? So, Kobe, starting with you, are you surprised that Red Bull was willing to let Verstappen race outside of Formula One, what it is still in the middle of the season?
Yeah, Josh, I'm quite surprised that Red Bull allowed him to do this because, this is Formula One where they want you to focus on Formula One or nothing else outside of Formula One. I know in the past, F1 drivers have wanted to, do other things in racing, but because of their F1 commitments, they're not allowed to do that. And if you were to go, do something else and then come back in Formula One and run poorly, then they're going to point to that moment of, see, if you hadn't been focused on that, you could have done, much better at your day job. But very interesting comments in this interview from Dr. Helmut Marko, who said that they're allowing Max to do this, to be a distraction. And I guess, I know a lot of us were surprised, that he was able to win the Italian Grand Prix this weekend, given that McLaren entered as the favorites. But it shows, that although the car is not what it used to be, with Max behind the wheel, he can still get the job done. And I guess, been allowed to do this, is certainly an incentive for him to stay at Red Bull long term. Maybe during the time, when there were rumors of him potentially going to Mercedes, maybe Max went to Red Bull and like, hey, if you want to keep me, I need you to let me go do this. So maybe this could have been his ultimatum to Red Bull that, I want to try out endurance racing, and if I'm going to stay here long term, you're gonna let me do this. Because I know if you go to some other teams, they might not allow any racing outside of Formula One because it is so hard, given the amount of time and commitment you need to be a Formula One driver to try to go do something else that doesn't involve F1 racing. I remember when, Fernando Alonso ran the Indianapolis 500 at the time, McLaren's car was, horrendous. It was, with the Honda engine. And so Alonso was not going to, be missing anything at Monaco, so to speak, since the car was not competitive. So Zach Brown and McLaren thought it would be great, to send Alonso to America, to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, to cross that off his bucket list and run the greatest spectacle in racing. We also saw Nico Hulkenberg, go to the 24 Hours of Le Mans and win overall there. And, you know, that didn't compromise his Formula One program either. And I think, you know, doing this on an off weekend, you know, is obviously, you know, perfect timing. And I think it's great to see Max, you know, venture out, because he's extremely passionate about sports car racing, endurance racing. And I know there were rumors that he broke a major record there, you know, unofficially during I believe a test session a few months ago that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So if he's able to, you know, go through all of the requirements to, you know, get in a GT3 car, we'll see. Well, if the rumors we heard about his run back a few months ago is true, and seeing how quick he is behind a GT3 car. But for all the people who were not interested in watching the Nürburgring Endurance Series before, a lot of us are going to be tuned in this weekend to see how Max does.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's live and free on the Nürburgring Landstrecke Series YouTube channel. So make sure you tune in to see how Franz gets on. Yeah, excited to see how he gets on. We talked so much about Kyle Larson going and doing the 500, haven't we, the last couple of years on this show and all of the grid shows. We always get excited for Daytona when some of the IndyCar guys go and dip their toe in the water there. Colton Herta, Alex Palou, Scott Dixon, of course, famously, and very successfully over the last few years. Guys like Brendan Hartley, who are doing WEC and have done some IMSA races, but we have not really seen Formula One guys, apart from maybe when Lando Norris did the 24 Hours a couple of years ago with United. When was that? Was like right at the beginning of his F1 career, if not before, from memory. And maybe Lance Stroll as well has done it. But, you know, current guys are going to do something different while they're on the grid just does not happen. The exemption being Nico Hulkenberg winning Le Mans 24 Hours, but that was 10 years ago. So it's been a very, very long time. And as you said, Josh, and Kobe said as well, this has been something on Max's sort of to-do list for a long time. He came back from, I think it was Imola, wasn't it, when he won last time he won a Grand Prix? He went straight to the Nürburgring to test the Ferrari that week when his child had just been born, let me add as well. I think I knotted it that week for, what are you doing, man? Stay at home with your newly born child. But as you can see, he's passionate about doing this. We know all his sim stuff that he does, which he's got into trouble for as well in the past. A lot of that's been Nürburgring based. So he knows the way around. Now he's got to try and do it for real in a real race situation, which we're going to explain.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah. And Josh, before you come back in, I also wanted to say I believe Max got in trouble for doing sim in the middle of a Formula One race weekend. If that's correct, yeah, and that's probably not something you want to do when you know all of your focus is expected to be on Formula One. And hopefully, this is a sign of things to come for Max Verstappen. I don't want to just see him compete in the Nürburgring 24 Hours. I also want to see him, if his schedule allows, or if he has to, wait till his F1 career is over. Love to see him in the Spa 24 Hours. Also love to see him in IMSA in the GTP class, competing at Daytona, Sebring, the Petit Le Mans. I would have said Indianapolis, but that's not going to be an endurance race anymore. After this, you're going to be going to Road America. Yeah, it'd be cool to see him. I'm sure we're going to see Max, in the hypercar class at Le Mans sooner rather than later. So there's a lot of possibilities that sports car racing opens up. I know he's been very passionate about the GT3 cars and all of that, but I love to see what he can do behind the wheel of a prototype. And I believe last year, when all the Honda drivers got together, ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix, I think Max Verstappen got in Meyer Shank Racing's Acura GTP car, took it for a test spin. Yuki Tsunoda, he got in Scott Dixon's Indy car there to give it a whirl. Yeah, so endurance racing, something that makes Max smile, and really looking forward to seeing how he'll perform at the track known as the Green Hill.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, that when he did come back, I'm just quickly saying this should be quite interesting. Looking forward to seeing how Max Verstappen does. Good luck to him coming into it as well. And Sophia is saying, looking forward to seeing him win that too. He probably would try and win everything. We've seen Alexander Rossi and James Hinchcliffe do the Bathurst 1004. It was cool to see two IndyCar drivers attempt the great race. And I think Martin Brundle did Nordschleife a couple of years ago, and he said it's one of the hardest tracks to learn.
With Alex.
So, yeah, and Martin is a world champion in sports cars. So quite interesting to see how Max gets on.
But as you mentioned, sorry, Josh, to Adam's point about Rossi and Hinchcliffe going to Bathurst, let's hope that Max Verstappen doesn't cause huge controversy by spinning into the gravel trap like that car did, which led to Deborah's and all the Penske DJR fallout that happened off the back of I think it was Hinchy the car backing it into the gravel at the final corner. Please, Max, don't cause any more controversy this weekend.
Yeah, and be careful because, the green hell is a bit dangerous. That's why it's called it. But he did do the test, as you said, back in May after his child was born and after Emilia Romagna. But it was under the alias of Franz Hermann, which was quite funny. And there's come these nicknames, wasn't it, now around the paddock. But for this weekend, he will use his real name and won't be hiding from anyone. Despite being a four-time Formula 1 World Champion, Verstappen will have to go through a process before he's given a permit to compete in the top GT3 category. Verstappen will have to sit through a course, pass an exam, get in a Category B car, and in order to gain an A permit, he'll have to record at least 2 classified race results, covering a minimum of 14 race laps in total. It seems easy enough. I mean, if anybody's done Gran Turismo or Forza, they pretty much know how it all works. But do you think it's silly that a 4-time F1 champion has to go through such a lengthy process to race on this demanding circuit?
Absolutely not. Norbert Haug, in the Autosport article that we've kind of lynched some of this stuff from, was saying exactly that. German, knows the Nürburgring off, like, he's been there so many times. He should know all the procedural stuff. Former Mercedes motorsport boss, of course, Norbert Haug, and he said it's stupid that Verstappen has to go through this, but everybody has to do it. So he'll have the classroom stuff on Friday, then he'll have the Saturday race, which is, as we said, 4 hours on Saturday, 4 hours on Sunday, 2 separate races for the championship, and he's going to be with the Lion Speed Cayman GT4. So if he does do what he needs to do on Saturday, then there may be an exemption for Sunday's race, and he'll be able to get in the Ferrari. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Of course, we could build this all up. He doesn't start the race, and after 45 minutes, that car is out because it's been involved in the shunt or a mechanical failure, and he doesn't get in the car, and then that kind of scuppers everything. But let's hope that he does get a run, and it's just, as we said before, very exciting to go to see someone go and do something different. Let's hope, for the sake of the whole story, that it all comes off, and for the Grid EPI, and he gets in a GT3 car, because we don't count GT4 in the Grid Endurance Performance Index. So there is a championship that Max Verstappen can't win this year, not just the Formula 1 World Championship. It is the Grid Endurance Performance Index, because GT4 doesn't count. So let's hope that it all goes swimmingly and smoothly for him, and he does get to run in the big class against some of the big, Nürburgring names. And there isn't many cars entered, as far as we know, because the entry list hasn't actually been announced yet. It's coming out tomorrow. So there isn't going to be many GT3 cars on the entry anyway, because it's such a busy weekend, which we'll get to later when we do the EPI update. So he's got a chance, if he gets in to what the Nürburgring guys call SP9, which is the GT3 stuff, that he could win the Sunday race. And then that's an even bigger story than it already is.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something if Max Verstappen just comes in, on his so-called 1-week vacation from Formula One and ends up winning overall at the Nürburgring? That would be an insane story. But given how talented of a driver Max is, I would not put that past him, actually. And I would not be surprised if he ends up, getting that exemption and then able to get into the top GT3 category. But looking at the rules here, that they have to race at this demanding Nordschleife Circuit, I've looked at this circuit, on project cars too. It is one demanding circuit. It took me a while before I could, actually figure it out, because it's such a long lap. There's so many different twists and turns, and it's also extremely dangerous. Yeah, where anything can and will go wrong at that racetrack, especially, if you saw, the horrible crash that Jan Martinborough had there several years ago. That's a perfect example of the danger that a Nordschleife is. That's why they call it the Green Hill, because it's such an intimidating racetrack. And given how dangerous this racetrack is, I think it's good, that they're not going to put just any average Joe out there on the track. That you need to be able to meet the requirements to drive at this track. And then if you pass, good. And if you don't, you need to either continue trying to get better. I don't really follow this series, honestly, as closely as I do some of the other sports car series. So I don't know the percentage rate of people who actually fail to, get their license to compete in the top category. But I think it's a good thing, given the danger of this racetrack compared to all the other tracks in the world, that they take this extremely seriously. He said, if you can't, meet the guidelines here, then you cannot race, because the last thing you need on the Nordschleife Circuit is a moving chicane, someone who's a danger to themselves and the others around them. But we know one thing: Max Verstappen is not going to be a danger at all, because I think he's going to do perfectly fine on this track.
So moving on to our second story of the evening then, and it's MotoGP related because the Red Bull KTM Tech 3 MotoGP team will enter a new chapter after former Haas F1 team principal Gunther Steiner has acquired full ownership of the organisation. Now, starting in 2026, Steiner will become the CEO of the MotoGP team, including the Moto3 squad. Now, Richard Coleman will become team principal, as current team principal, Hervé Poncharal, will step back to a consultant role. Steiner said that this is a fantastic opportunity and he's honoured to take over the Tech 3 programme and building on the current foundations. We've also seen reports that Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are also looking to buy into MotoGP, and the photo here courtesy of Dorna. So, Matt, coming to you on this one, it seems to be the latest fashion, isn't it, as well? Because why does it seem like such a good time to invest in MotoGP with Gunther coming on board and interest from two Formula One's biggest stars right at the time that Liberty Media has just acquired full ownership of both MotoGP and World Superbikes?
Yeah, we've talked about that again. Another story that we've kind of been following all year long about Liberty buying into MotoGP. It's interesting, isn't it? Because probably if you're thinking about stock markets, now's the time to buy into MotoGP before the boom, the expected boom, like we saw with F1 after the Liberty buy back in the Chase Carey days, and obviously Formula One's gone, gangbusters since pre the pandemic and Drive to Survive, which of course where Gunther really has made his name. I mean, he's been touring his book for, it seems like, forever. Friends of mine went to see him earlier this year and said it was a good show. But I don't know. He's got plenty of motorsport experience outside of F1. He's been in rallying as well prior to that in the Ford WRC team back in the mid 2000s. Part of the setup up there with M Sport and Malcolm Wilson before going back to Formula One. So he's got plenty of sort of worldly experience, but that's in cars. He was at Barcelona at the weekend. We'll probably touch on, I'm certain we'll touch on the Barcelona weekend when we get to Hots and Knots in a little while at the end of the show. But he was there on the pit wall. He looked like he was enjoying life, and he's prospectively one of his riders got on the podium in the main race, Enea Bastianini. So he was very pleased about that. But what has he done really in terms of success? Because Haas, for all of the Gunther years, didn't really score very well, and most of the time they were being talked at as a bit of a joke because of the old Rich Energy sponsorship stuff. That was under his tenure, let's not forget. Not so known for
about his books. Yeah, you say about his books and Rich Energy. I've got both his books. I've got Rich Energy on the windowsill over there.
Not so known for winning trophies, and more so known for calling people bleeping rock stars. So we'll see how he gets on. Missing Hervé Poncharal from the paddock is a big miss.
Yeah, he needs to retire. He wants to retire. He spoke to Susie and Sylvain on the grid, didn't he, on Sunday, and he said it's time. I'm still going to be around, but he wants to have someone else to buy into the team, and he joked that Susie wouldn't. So Hervé's been flirting with Susie.
Hervé Poncharal telling a joke? No,
I know, it's fantastic, isn't it? But no, honestly, I think a podium was an interesting thing for Bastianini. He was battling the Costa the whole race. We will get into that later on, but a podium was a good thing for him to come into it with Bastianini. And I don't know, it feels weird because Gunther got 2 minutes and 47 seconds into a press conference before swearing. MotoGP is on the up, and we've got the last year of the regulations coming in, but then we've got 850cc engines for 2027, and that, I think, is going to be the boom. And Top Rack coming in, that's going to bring a lot of support. If anything, if I was Liberty, I'd be worried about World Superbikes at the moment and trying to promote that more than MotoGP, but still, see how that goes. I think Gunther is going to be a character. And I'm glad he's landed somewhere on his feet after Haas. But you are right. He's been in Jaguar, he's been in Red Bull, he's been in Haas. Hasn't really done much of success. So we shall see how it all plays out in the end. But moving on to our next story of the evening as well. And after a disappointing weekend on pit road, Hendrick Motorsports have decided to swap out Alex Bowman's number 48 pit crew ahead of Saturday night round of 16 cutoff race at Bristol Motor Speedway. Now, Hendrick are sending the front tyre changer, rear tyre changer, tyre carrier, jackman, and fueler who were on the number 48 team to Spire Motorsports. Now, pit crew members who were previously serving Carson Hocevar's number 77 team will now work with Bowman effective immediately. Now, this last-minute move occurs with Bowman on the brink of elimination from the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Bowman is currently 15th in the standings and 35 points below the cut line. Now, the trouble on pit road started at Darlington when the number 48 crew had a horrendously bad 40-second pit stop and it ruined his night at Darlington. Now, then at Gateway, Bowman dropped from the top 10 to 30th place after another bad pit stop when the jack dropped before the rear left tyre was fully fastened. Bowman later got issued a pit road speeding penalty and only finished 26th, photo taken by Chris Gratham from Getty Images as well. So, Matt, did Hendrick Motorsports make a mistake by not swapping out the pit crew after Darlington? And could it be too late now for Bowman to get into the next phase?
Well, first of all, chapeau to you, Josh, because Mr. Owens, our good friend, played some of the audio from that Bowman stop at Darlington when you did your best Martin Brundle impression and said it was a committee meeting, which I thought was excellent work. Because
thank you.
As Matthew said, a complete circus. And then it carried on this week. They had to do something. Bowman was one of my 4 to go out in this round, I have to say. And he's not flattered to say, he's not shown any kind of speed. And of course, all this stuff going on in pit lane has not helped him at all over these first 2 weeks. They've got to do something. Bristol's a place where he pretty much he can point his way in, but much like Josh Berry on Saturday night, they're going to have to win really to either of them to really secure their place and continue their championship push. But it's again it's been an Alex Bowman season. There's been flashes of speed, but not massive turn of speed. Kind of got in to the playoffs with a little bit of luck in the end at Daytona a couple of weeks ago. Of course, last year we had the Chicago win, which got him in. He just hasn't shown the speed that all of his teammates have shown. This is the last roll of the dice for the 48 team. They've changed. We know Carson Hocevar's pit crew, a decent pit crew. It's now down to the driver to show that he can get up on the wheel, to use an NASCAR term, and pull that team from the mire this Saturday night at Bristol and get them through, because otherwise he's going to be out of that playoffs. And as I've been saying for a little while, it won't be too long probably before he's out of that ride.
Sadly so, especially with the manoeuvres he's been doing this season. We've all been mentioning it in our commentaries as well. So, next up, that's the end of the main stories tonight. Said it's a nice and quick one for us, so we're going to hand over to Matt for the latest from our Grid EPI update.
Yeah, flying through the show tonight. Thank you, Josh. Time for this week's Grid Endurance Performance Index update, week number 24 of scoring for the season, the second busiest weekend of the season. And this weekend, we've got the busiest weekend of the season. So let's get through what happened at the weekend prior. We'll start down in Australia. They've got a big race at the weekend at the Bend coming up this weekend for supercars. But last weekend, it was GT World Challenge Australia's turn to be at the track as part of the Speed Series. And they had 2 races over the weekend of an hour apiece. On screen there, former F3 racer, most famous for flipping at Monza in the final corner a few years ago, if anyone remembers that, Alex Peroni, and his teammate and team owner, Mark Rosser, getting the win in the ACMF Audi on Saturday. Sunday's race was won by the car that finished second on Saturday, and that was Jaden Ojeda and Paul Lucitti getting the win on Sunday. They have one more round left, but we've still got 2 months to wait for it before those guys turn up in New Zealand at Hampton Downs to conclude their season. It's actually one of the last races of the EPI for the year, so a little bit of a break there for GT World Challenge Australia. The American version of GT World Challenge was at Barber Motorsports Park at the weekend in Alabama. Colin DeFilippi and Kenson Cook continued their championship push with the Random Vandals team in their BMW, winning on Saturday. And on Sunday, it was a win for the Mercedes duo of Mick Grenier and Mikael Stevens, getting the victory on Sunday afternoon. One more race left for GT World Challenge USA, and that comes at Indianapolis with the 8 hour in a few weeks' time as part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, which is a tie-up there between those two. ADAC GT Masters were back in action this weekend after their summer break. They were in Austria at the Salzburg Ring, first time they've been there for many, many years. Race 1 was won by Ben Dorr and Guilherme Oliveira for the Dorr Motorsports team in their McLaren, as you can see. And in better conditions on Sunday, it was a win for BMW. Leighton Fourie and Tim Zimmerman getting the win on Sunday. A bit more closer to home for Kobe, it was the big news sort of headline story of the weekend came at the Circuit of the Americas, although we didn't actually see that much racing because of weather. A lot of safety cars and some red flags as well. But in the end, Porsche came out on top. Their first win of the season for last year's champions, Lawrence Van Voort and Kevin Estre, this year being joined by Matt Campbell. They came out on top on Sunday evening for the number 6 Penske Porsche Motorsport team. And there was a first win of the season for United Autosports and their McLaren in GT3. Darren Leung, Marino Sato and Sean Gelael getting the win there. Let's see what those races have done to the standings. We don't have a new leader. European Le Mans Series Championship points leaders, Ollie Gray and Esteban Masson, still P1 and P2, but they've been closed in on by Lawrence Van Voort after his win at COTA at the weekend. So he's jumped up to 3rd, and he and Antonio Giovinazzi have swapped positions, so he goes down to 5th position. A couple of little moves and shakes underneath there as well. And let's tell you about what's coming up on the busiest weekend of the season for the Grid EPI as you look at the top 50. It is going to be a very much different looking lineup for the championship standings after this weekend. We've talked about it already on the show, 2 races for the Nordschleife Langstrecke series at the Nürburgring, the Nürburgring Langstrecke series at the Nürburgring, of course, as we talked about over the weekend, 2 races of 4 hours at the weekend. Also in Germany at the Austria for the DTM and ADAC GT Masters. So that's 4 more races. So that's 6. The European Le Mans Series is in action at Silverstone back in the UK this weekend. If you haven't got your ticket and you're thinking about going, please do. I wish I was, but as I talked about a couple of weeks ago, I double booked myself and now I can't go. So that's really very, very annoying. And there's a couple more races as well to add on to the 10 races that we have as part of the Grid Endurance Performance in this weekend, ELMS. The headline, and that concerns our guys in P1 and P2 in the standings, as well as Jakub Śmiechowski, who is in 6th position. So that's the Grid EPI for week 24. Week 25 is coming up, and it is a very busy one, unlike this week's news stories, but Kobe has more of them to bring you.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. In 2026, Haas factory team will switch from Ford to Chevrolet in the NASCAR Cup and O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Haas factory team will form a technical alliance with Hendrick Motorsports and use Hendrick engines. At the moment, they currently have an alliance with RFK Racing in the Cup Series and in what's currently known as the Xfinity Series. RSS Racing and AM Racing have an alliance with HFT and Ford. Driver lineups, however, will remain the same next year with Cole Custer in the number 41 Chevrolet and Cup, and Sheldon Creed and Sam Mayer will be back in the number 00 and number 41 Chevrolets and O'Reilly. Team owner Gene Haas said he has a long history with Chevrolet and Hendrick dating back to 2002 when they helped him get his start as a team owner with Haas CNC Racing, and then later competing for wins and championships during the Stewart Haas racing era, photo courtesy of Haas factory team. Ex-Formula One driver Daniel Ricciardo announced his retirement from racing. In a blog post, Ricciardo announced that while his racing days are behind him, he still loves anything with wheels, and he's becoming a global Ford racing ambassador. When he decided that he wanted to retire instead of continue racing outside of F1, he thought long and hard about finding the most authentic way to stay connected to motorsports, and given his love for American-made products and trucks, he decided that he wants to help promote the Ford Raptor truck. Ricciardo ended his blog by saying he couldn't be more excited about all the amazing drives ahead and incredible projects the Blue Oval has in the pipeline. Photo courtesy of Ford Racing. And after finishing 4th in the championship this season, Miles Rowe will officially return to Indy next in 2026. Rowe will get a 3rd full season in the series and continue driving the number 99 Force Indy DeLara, fielded by Able Motorsports. Falling in 11th place finish in the championship his rookie year, Rowe took a huge step forward in Indy next competition in 2025. He scored 10 top fives, 6 podiums, and made history at Iowa Speedway by becoming the first black driver to win an Indy next race and picked up another victory in the season finale at Nashville Super Speedway. Rowe said the progression in year 2 was encouraging, and he's grateful and eager to continue working on what he's developed with his team. Photo courtesy of Penske Entertainment. ARCA Menard Series points leader Brendan Butterbean Queen will make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut Friday night at Bristol Motor Speedway. Queen will drive the number 11 Chevrolet for Colleague Racing with sponsorship from Action Industries. In ARCA competition, Queen's been one of the main drivers to beat each week, scoring 6 wins and 3 poles. Now the short track standout and last year's Cars Tour champion will get a chance to show what he can do on the High Bank Tennessee short track. Queen said it's been a dream of his to compete in the Xfinity Series and feels fortunate to get this opportunity. Graphic courtesy of Colleague Racing. The Alpine F1 team has re-signed Pierre Gasly to a long-term contract extension. Gasly's new deal will keep the Frenchman at the French team through the end of the 2028 Formula One season. Since joining Alpine in 2023, Gasly has scored 2 podiums with the team at Zandvoort in 2023 and Interlagos last year. Plus, he played a huge role in contributing to the 6th place result in last year's Constructors' Championship. And with Gasly locked up for at least the next 3 seasons, this shows his belief in the team as F1 enters a new era of regulations in 2026. Gasly said this is a place where he wants to be for the years to come and continue this special story of being a French driver representing a French car company at the pinnacle of motorsport. Photo courtesy of Alpine. Sammy Smith will return to the NASCAR Raleigh Auto Parts Series with Junior Motorsports in 2026. Smith's number 8 Chevrolet will see Pilot, TMC Transportation, and Allstate Peterbilt Group return to sponsor his car. However, before thinking about 2026, Smith and his number 8 team are preparing for this Friday night's Xfinity Series playoff opener at Bristol. He earned a playoff berth after winning a race earlier this year at Rockingham. JRM CEO Kelly Earnhardt Miller says she's excited to have Smith and his sponsors return next year and looks forward to seeing what the future holds. Graphic courtesy of Junior Motorsports. And with one of the races at Queensland Raceway last time out ending behind the safety car, the Repco Supercars Championship will debut new procedures at this weekend's AirTouch 500 at the Bend Endurance Race. Supercars will introduce slow zones. Where have you heard that before? Yeah, that's a rule that we've seen used in the FIA World Endurance Championship during the 24 Hours of Le Mans. According to Supercars, this is how it will work. When an incident occurs, all cars will immediately reduce speed to 80 kilometers per hour by engaging their safety car limiter. Then the pit lane will close during this phase, with exception only for cars already committed to pit entry or those with damage, punctures, or requiring fill. Then the fill is going to remain at 80 kilometers per hour for at least 1 lap to allow response crews to be deployed safely and ensure all drivers can clearly see the incident location. Once race control feel satisfied with what's going on, racing is going to resume at full speed across the circuit, except in the slow zone where the incident has occurred, which will remain at 80 kilometers per hour until this declared clear. And then the pit lane is going to open. This assures that only the affected sector is neutralized while the rest of the track remains live for racing and the team's individual race strategies aren't impacted. Supercars Chief Motorsport Officer Tim Edwards said this trial run is all about ensuring safety for officials and competitors while maintaining the spectacle for fans. Photo courtesy of Supercars. And since we're running a little late, I didn't have enough time to include this on the script, but I'm just going to, just talk a little bit about him. We do have some sad news to report on tonight, unfortunately. Yeah, because we lost 74-year-old longtime NASCAR team owner, Bill Davis. Yeah, Bill Davis, he fielded Bill Davis racing in a NASCAR Cup Series, for multiple Hall of Fame drivers, including Mark Martin, Bobby Labonte, and even fielded entry for Jeff Gordon. And during his time in the Cup Series as a team owner, he ended up winning 5 races. And all of those victories came with Ward Burton in the iconic number 22 Caterpillar sponsored car. And they ended up winning the Southern 500 at Darlington and also the Daytona 500 as well. So Bill Davis got to, win two crown jewel races there, at the highest level of stock car racing. And Davis, he also was in the Xfinity Series, ended up getting 11 race victories there and got 24 wins in the Craftsman Truck Series. And the highlight of his tenure in the trucks, he ended up getting the 2008 Truck Series Championship with driver Johnny Benson. Yeah, and on behalf of everyone here at Grid Network, we wish Bill Davis, family and friends, the best during this difficult time, and we hope Bill's memory is a blessing. And And the photo you see on your screen, courtesy of Jonathan Ferry from All Sport. And now I'm going to turn it over to Matt for Pick a Winner.
I've said it for the last few weeks. I'll say it again. We don't like it when we have to end Kobe's segment on some sad news. Rest in peace to Bill. Right then, pick a winner. It is a massive weekend of motorsport, as I kind of mentioned with the EPI update. And the colouring, we are now only 9 people and a dog can win the 2025 Pick a Winner competition from Grid Network. Matt B has now a 5-point lead over Kobe. I've slipped to 11 points behind, which is a shame. Me and Tanner are still kind of edging ourselves every week. We've kind of pretty much stayed status quo between us in the battle for third position. Josh is hanging on in there. He can still win it, but we'll have to have a lot of things go his way. We have 3 races to pick from this week on the show, and MotoGP is back in action after its the Catalan Grand Prix at Barcelona, which I'm sure, as I said, we're going to touch on in a little while in Hots and Knots. But they're in Misano this weekend for I was going to say the final European race of the season, but of course it's not, because we go to Valencia at the end of the year. The final race of the main bulk of the European season at Misano for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, where Marc Marquez could have wrapped up the championship, but now can't. But he's probably going to win the sprint race because he always does. So my pick is Marc Marquez. Kobe?
Yeah, I don't see any reason to go off what we've been doing, for many months now on this show during this segment. Yeah, so sticking with Marquez. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, Marc Marquez for the whole lot. I'm going with this weekend. It's a chance that he could be. He shapes up for Japan, doesn't he? He can win the title, so I'll go with he'll win this weekend and they'll win the title in Japan.
Yeah, because he came second on Sunday at Barcelona, that means he can't wrap up the championship this weekend. Alex Marquez has still got a mathematical chance, but it's extremely unlikely. So that means that if Marc Marquez continues to win, Kiska can still win. Pick a winner. Supercars, Kobe mentioned it. They're at the Bend this weekend for the first of 2 endurance races. The 500, the first time that the Bathurst warm-up has happened outside of Queensland Raceway or Sandown or Phillip Island. First one at the Bend. It's an open field, but you're probably going to go with a Red Bull car. I'm going for Will Brown and Scott Pye to win the Bend 500 on Sunday.
And I'm going to go with the other Red Bull car, the number 88, Brock Feeney and Jamie Whincup to win this Bend Enduro. And also another note of news I didn't mention about Brock Feeney, the entry list for the next IMSA endurance race, the 6-hour race, the Battle on the Bricks at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course next weekend. I was scrolling down the entry list, got to GTD Pro and saw a surprise name. And I saw the name of Brock Feeney. He's going to be in the number 75 Mercedes with Kenny Habul. Yeah, looking forward to seeing Brock Feeney make his IMSA debut next weekend in GTD Pro. Really interesting that he's doing this, in the middle of the endurance season, right off of the Bend Enduro. But looking forward to seeing what Brock can do in America.
Give me some help here then, boys. Who do I pick? Who's going to get me some points that I can try and catch up in the standings? Give me 2 names.
I'll tell you who might be a smoky, as they say in Australia, a good outside pick. And he goes well at the Bend. He's Tom Randall in the Castrol car. Always goes well. They got pole position a couple of years ago, but then was crashed into on the line when he stalled.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's open because we've never had this race at this racetrack, so the field is open.
Okay, I'll go with Tom. I'll stick my neck out. I'll have to go and look for the rest of them, but I'll stick my neck out on that one. I'll trust you. Get me some points. I need to finish inside the top 10.
And the last one to pick for tonight is WRC. Their second round of the season in South America. It's Rally Chile this weekend after they were up in Paraguay a few weeks ago. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Oit Tanak is going to win for Hyundai this weekend in Chile. It's not been Hyundai's yet, but I've got a funny feeling that Oit Tanak is going to come through and get the win this week. Kobe?
I'm going to go with someone who I haven't picked in a long time. Give me Elfyn Evans to win in Rally Chile.
He could do with it in his championship battle. It's not been a good summer for Elfyn Evans. Needs to get back on the horse. Get your picks in for those races and the MotoGP main race. And we've got NASCAR at Bristol, as we talked about as well on the show earlier on. So 5 points up for grabs this weekend. Hashtag pick a winner across all of the Grid Network TV social media. Get your picks in, especially if you're in the top 10, which, looking at that list, is mostly staff members, but you can still get your name on the board there and represent between now and the end of the season. We'll finish, as we always do, with myself and Josh, hotting and notting what we saw at the weekend. Plenty of things on. Well, I don't know where do we start?
The big one, Formula One.
Yes, the fastest ever Grand Prix.
Hot.
It was good.
I liked it. Yeah,
it was okay.
Everyone says, "Oh, Pirelli need to go." You know, the tires aren't. You know, they shouldn't be able to do 52 or 53 laps. Fake fans. I remember when the tires used to do a whole Grand Prix distance. So get out. Racing at Monza was good. I enjoyed it, and you're only saying it was bad because McLaren made the big boo boo, and that's the knot, isn't it? How do you handle that? I said it was fair in commentary. I said no, it's fair because you made Lando give up the race win a year ago to Oscar, so now you're just repaying the favor the first time it's come around because now Oscar has to give it back to Lando. In my opinion, you made your bet a year ago, you're lying it now, and you commit. If anything, I thought it was handled really well.
Yeah,
that was my thought of the comms. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lando was given the option, wasn't he, whether to pit first or second, and he kind of agreed that if he comes in second, he won't get done by Piastri, and then they cock up the pit stop anyway. So, yeah, I agree. It was a repay, wasn't it, for Hungary, perhaps in the back of Lando's mind, he'd already repaid that debt by giving Piastri the sprint win. Was it Qatar, wasn't it, where he let him go at the end of the was it the other way around? I can't remember now, on the last lap. So, I mean, yeah, I think it played out the way it should have played out. But as I said last week, it doesn't matter. Championship's over. Piastri's won. Yeah,
this is done. This is now Lando's now. I really hope he doesn't spit his dummy out. That's the thing.
I mean, there's a big chance next weekend in Baku, but because it's Baku, we're going to have a Baku bash between McLarens. We've seen it there before with other things. So
I think next week in Baku is going to be one of the best races of the season.
Yeah, could be defining in the championship also. If
I think,
evil.
It's Oscar though, isn't it? It's Oscar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. MotoGP. All right, really, wasn't it?
Well, was it though? Two hot things for MotoGP, I thought, was some of the camera work. They had the drone in the gravel trap at the end of lap one, which was a magnificent shot as they all come spewing through the final corner. I was like, wow, it blew me off the sofa. That was so cool. And they had the high shot in turn one. And they used it often throughout, I think more in the support races, I feel like, than they did in the Grand Prix. And you could see everybody working so hard on the brakes. There was a shot of Bastianini coming in there on the front wheel, where he just was like coming in like this. It's like, wow, that looks awesome.
It was so good.
But Mark wasn't bothered about not winning that race. I think he could have gone and taken that on Sunday, especially with Alex falling off on Saturday in the sprint race. And you're like, oh, well, this is definitely done now. Mark's going to beat him tomorrow, and then it's going to be done in Mazzano this weekend. But now it can't be because he gave him one back. That's
typing. Yeah.
I
think Mark's the champion this year. It's just now a free-for-all, really, isn't it? Yeah. Sticking back with F1 quickly, Kobe's just put in about his knot. Came from F2 feature race. Arvid Lindblad missed his braking and wiped out Alexander Dunn. Stayed out on track with no front wing, downforce, and then wiped out Roman Steiner. What was he thinking? No, I said the same thing. I said, this is Arvid. I said in commentary, Arvid Lindblad is supposed to be in a RB seat before the end of the year. And in Red Bull next year, that's what they've been trying to get him to do. They've broken the super license rules for him. They've gotten the exemptions. But I'm sorry, what he did on Sunday deserves a race ban. I said it in commentary, and I think Omi agreed with me. It was a stupid stupid situation. He shouldn't have run into the back of Dunn, and he should have come into the pit lane, and he shouldn't have restarted under the safety car and then wiped out Stanek. It was completely ridiculous. I said it in commentary. The F3 races were fantastic. The F2 races were F3 2015 level at Monza races.
God, really?
It was really bad. And this is the thing, it keeps happening. F3 at Spa was fantastic in the wet. Brilliant racing. F2, absolute nightmare, a calamity. And it's happened again. You've got better driving standards in Formula 3 than you have in Formula 2. I can't work out why. Formula 2, at the moment, to me, is filled with, oh, I'm paid to be here. I've paid to be here. Formula 3 has more talent than Formula 2. I'll go on record as saying that.
We've had that, haven't we? It happens in Formula 2 where we have a really good quality field, and then we have something like this year where it's just not so good. Back to Barcelona, not.
Yeah.
Pecco Bagnaia. What has happened?
Bad weekend.
What has
I
happened?
think he's been. Do you know? I mean, do you see the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Sixth Day, where that star who breaks his neck on the field gets cloned, and he's not as good when he gets cloned and come back? Has that happened to Pecco? We've blinked and missed it.
During the summer break.
Yeah, he is not Pecco Bagnaia anymore, and it goes back to what I was saying last season about when him and Martin were making so many mistakes. If Mark was on the bike last year, he would have been world champion. Yeah. But Bagnaia and Martin, I hate to say this, people are going to jump on me. I feel they've looked into world championships because Mark was injured.
Yeah,
they're not the best in the world.
A couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this kind of thing too.
Yeah, they're not the best in the world. If anything, I'd say that there's 3 riders that can battle Mark right now. Alex isn't one of them, by the way. It's Bezecchi.
Yeah.
Because that Aprilia should not be doing what it's doing, and he's been right there. Acosta.
Yeah.
And Quartararo.
Agreed. Interesting to see what Yamaha bring with this new bike when it eventually comes out.
Do you want a little bit of a sprinkle? The MotoGP journalists seem to have forgot that the Circuit de Barcelona have their own live timing that is public. So even though there was a private test held on Monday and nobody knows what the times were, I do. Would you like to know how good...
Did they run the V4?
They did. They did run the V4. Would you like to know how good the bike is?
How many minutes faster than their qualifying time was it?
It is, well, yeah, it's quite a big difference, let me tell you.
Right.
I can't say too much about it, but what I can say is this V4 has 2 tenths on the Ducati. Yeah.
Ooh.
2 tenths.
Interesting.
And look how bad the current Yamaha is. This V4 has been such an upgrade. It's going to be unbelievable.
He came 6th, I think, of the week on Sunday, Fabio. So he had a decent run in the Grand Prix. I'm going to pronounce something here. It is 20 to midnight on the 10th of September. Remember this, mark this down. At the end of next season in MotoGP, or at some point during the year next year, there's going to be a switch. Francesco Bagnaia will leave the Ducati MotoGP team, and he will be swapped with Nicolo Bulega, and they will do a switcheroo. And Bagnaia is going to go to Superbike and follow Michelin, and Bulega is going to follow Pirelli to MotoGP. If that doesn't happen, I will eat this hat live on grid tonight. I don't know, but Bagnaia has been just awful for most of the season. That. Another bike-related knot, quickly. I'll come to Omi's comment in a second. Bike-related knot. MotoGP at Catalunya at the weekend. World Superbike at Magny-Cours at the weekend. And four races for BSB at Donington Park at the weekend, all on TNT Sport. Well, there isn't enough hours in the day. I've still got 2... the last World Superbike race to catch up on and 2 BSB races. Why has that happened? All on the same weekend.
And
Come on.
Why was World Superbike on at exactly the same time as MotoGP?
Well, you say
they moved it half an hour, didn't they?
the first weekend of September has always been World Superbike at Magny Court.
Yeah.
So that's a MotoGP calendar clash.
MotoGP have put it here because this weekend should have been Aragon, but they swapped Aragon and Catalonia around, didn't they? Because F1's taken the date in June.
Yeah.
So it's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
I'm
hoping Liberty sort of.
That's not going to help them when they're on MotoGP weekends, because people are going to have to make a choice, especially watching live, and they will go with MotoGP every time. Omi says, I think all is paid off now for McLaren. Oscar gave up the place and let Lando win the Brazilian sprint. So was it Brazil or Qatar? Whichever it was.
I thought it was Qatar. Yeah.
I thought it was Qatar. And he gave that back at Qatar and now Hungary. Yes, because they were trying to make
the
championship just in case he was around at the end, wasn't he? But it never happened.
Omi's right, though. He did it in the sprint in Brazil as well. Yeah, he did. He pulled off down to turn 3, didn't he?
That's right. And then Lando gave it back in Qatar because the championship was done.
Yeah. I remember now. Yes.
You're right. Well done, Omi.
Oh. See, Omi's more with it than me. It's been a long weekend. I think that Bowman. No. Josh Berry as a knot. How unlucky do you have to be? 2 races running and he's crashed twice. Come on.
All to do on Saturday night for Josh.
Win it.
Well, he's got to win. Yeah, he can still make it on points, but it's not going to happen.
I sent it to Simon Patterson, but I'll just send it to you both now. There was a funny Instagram that I saw. It was Stewie's voiceover. Like, look at him, free as a bird. Oh my God, he's been hit by a car. It's just getting very taken out. I've just sent it to you both now to watch after the show. That was my knot. Another knot. Why Bristol? Why must we suffer? It's not going to be a good race, is it? I don't know. We got so bored in the spring race. Why is the fall race going to be even better? It's at night, yes, but please no.
I don't remember much about. Well, I don't remember much at all about the Bristol spring race. I don't even remember being doing the race. I may not have been, so that's probably why I don't remember it. But
me and Matthew were literally. Yeah, we were begging
for something to happen.
Yeah.
Well, the next round is going to be good. I'm looking forward to the next round of the playoffs. The next 3 races are going to be good, and I've still got all fingers crossed that SVG can somehow make it happen and get in and get through.
I think he will.
Yeah, because then he's got the Rover in the next round. So all we don't pray for favourites, but.
It'd be a story.
Give me a story. Yeah, that's right.
Are you hot and knotted out?
I think so. I thought I had another knot, but it's escaped me. So it couldn't have been too much in terms of importance.
Oh well, WEC at Kota. That was daft.
So unlucky with the weather.
Yeah. That race should have been.
There was a lot of NFL games that got delayed through weather as well on Sunday, so there was lots of weather around in North America. And for a change, it didn't hit NASCAR.
I'm thankful for that. We got out there before 11:30. It was actually the fastest cut race of the year. 3 hours 4 minutes, fastest one we've had.
Oh, cool! So, didn't realise. Yeah, we'll have a bit of that.
So, taking a look at our upcoming schedule, you can stay tuned for the Grid Live pre-race. That's going to be previewing NASCAR's Bristol night race. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up is at noon Eastern to recap MotoGP, Supercars, World Rally Championship and NASCAR. Yeah, it is slightly earlier because everything shifts early. Monday, Grid Encore is at 7 p.m. Eastern, recapping the Xfinity Truck and ARCA races at Bristol as well. Please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach 1,700 subscribers. And we're now inching closer to our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air. Follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, and Matthew, who invest each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join these fine folks who keep us on the air. And once we hit $5 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue to grow our media outlet. The link to all of that is in the video description below. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want. And you can consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambeth and Matt White from the Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.